France blasphemes God at the Olympics?
Or is this just a case of ignorant Christians with a persecution complex? Let's talk about it, y'all!
Middle America!
Middle America!
And you ain't black.
I don't know what I said.
The first time ever any...
What are you people?
We're Americans.
We are Americans indeed. My name is
We are.
Vincent.
And I'm Soraya.
And this is Middle America with Vin and Sori.
Welcome.
Now, we did put some of this on the main channel, and that's okay. That's okay. People have been asking us about this, so this is kind of a Vin and Sori type music thing as well. Everybody knows that we're Christian, so obviously everybody said, hey, Vin and Sori, what is your opinion about this situation? So we're going to try to... what do you think about the Gojira performance? What's up, Sesso? What's up, Aiden Cantrell? I didn't actually see the Gojira performance, to be honest with you. Hail Dionysus, pass the wine, says Ranter Matt. Shout out to all you beautiful people. Okay, now, let me explain to you how this works, dear listener, because some of you are new. Facebook.com/America Middle. This guy right here, his name is Ranter Matt. It's really, for all intents and purposes, his site. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I stood it up, but this man, anyway... He's also you need to subscribe to his channel. If you subscribe to Middle America, you definitely need to subscribe to Ranter Matt, because Ranter Matt is kind of like the different side of the same coin. Got the same compassion, same love, but he thinks his philosophy on how to get there is obviously different from mine. Definitely something you guys should check out. Okay, so here we are. What's the deal? This is Middle America. We talk about politics, obviously. We call it Middle America because I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, we're not left-wing, we're not right-wing, we're just...
Right.
Look
at that.
I'm not a poli-sci expert, dear listener, none of that nonsense. I'm just a regular kid who barely graduated from high school, loves heavy metal, loves his woman, loves having babies and making them.
What can we say?
What can you say?
We have a lot of children.
Shout out to the big homie Joey. How you doing? Okay, so, look, you can agree, you can disagree. It's a call-in show. If anybody has the cojones to come try to call in, we would love to see that happen.
We love that.
Shout out to all the Rumbillions. What's going on with the Rumbillions? Okay, we're good. We're on. Yeah, we are also live on Rumble, you beautiful people. So we are here for it. We are here for it, y'all. So that's what we do. Those are the rules. It's a free speech environment, which means that people are going to say things that offend you and hurt you. And we generally let it happen because we believe that free speech is the only way we're going to be able to actually do anything significant in this country. And so that's the ethos, dear listener. Okay, now let's talk about Gojira. Gojira, great performance, even if mimed. Awesome to see medal at the Olympics. What do you mean mimed? Was it one of those situations where he, like they weren't really singing it because they already had it pre-recorded? It's kind of crazy. People were calling Gojira satanic after watching the Olympics. They don't know anything about the band. Yeah, it's crazy to me that this is still a thing within evangelicalism, but the whole like metal is devil music.
Oh, yeah.
If the guy, screams into the mic, he's horrible.
Don't do this.
Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of real whatever kind of phobia you can have, and we grew up with that stuff.
The
metal panic.
Yeah.
All that craziness.
Manson. No.
Oh, yeah, Marilyn Manson. Yeah. That shit was incredible. Okay, so having said that, dear listener, we're going to get right into it. And shout out to Lost Hate, who's in the chat. Lost Hate, we will actually make this an earnable point total for you. Okay, so if we can get up to 15 people in Rumble, once you get to 5 likes, we will make it eligible for a prize. Dear listener, if you are in the Rumble chat, this is if you're in the Rumble chat and you see one of these little if you're in the Rumble chat or if you're in Middle America chat, and then you see this begin to happen, that means
That
it's
means you
time.
can win a prize.
That means
win
it's,
points.
That means it's time to put down the magic number.
Mm-hmm.
And for our intents and purposes today, the magic number is going to be 65872. So that's the magic number, 65872. Once we get 15 people into Rumble with at least 5 likes, you will be eligible to activate that. And what does that get you? We count out the points at the end of the month, which is pretty soon. And whoever has the most points can either bank it for a free song review or get a hoodie, a shirt, a cup, etc., etc. So that's something that our $15 tier people get just for free if we do a new shirt, whatever. But you don't necessarily have to be a patron to qualify for that. Okay, having said that, let us check this out. We're going to talk about what happened, and we've got Kyle Kulinski.
I know what you're doing, babe. I mean, let's check it out.
Oi! Blasphemy compared to Birmingham 2 years ago is nothing. That was a legit satanic ritual. Yeah, I gotta say, there's been some weird imagery at these award shows and things like in the last 5 years. And it's a very interesting thing to behold, especially when people say they don't believe it. But okay, let's check out Kyle Kulinski, and he's gonna give us his take on what happened at the Olympics. Let's check it out.
All right, y'all, welcome to the show. I got an amazing one for you today. I've been itching to get on air. So just in a second, we're going to talk about conservatives go absolutely all. And then later on, we had an Olympic.
Full disclosure, I did not watch the opening ceremony to the Olympics, so I don't really know what the deal is as far as I was kind of late to the controversy, obviously. The thing's about 2 or 3 days old. I was kind of late to the controversy, so forgive your boy. We continue.
Opening ceremony. Of course, the Olympics is being held in Paris, France. Now, when I started watching it, this is a little weird. I think it's a little weird. I think it's fair to call this weird. But then I realized, it dawned on me that, oh, hold on. This is the French. This is like the most French shit I've ever seen in my life. It is incredibly...
Now, the French are being accused of mocking Christianity by evangelicals, but it is true. Like, France has been known for not just free speech, but intentionally offensive speech to theists. And that manifested itself about 10, 12 years ago, where Charlie Hebdo drew the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and ended up getting killed in broad daylight. Then people... they rolled up and just started blasting folks. And you saw it like broad daylight. Pow, 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 pow. So France, that's what they're known to do, And so it was really interesting because the French kind of they stood up. They said, they basically apologized for mocking Muhammad, but they said we're going to keep doing this. So they had a draw Muhammad thing in France or something like that after and all that. They stood up to
we're
him.
not going to be...
Yeah, and to some degree, a person could argue that they went they overcorrected because I think now in France you can't even wear hijab. I saw a thing in where I don't know if it's propaganda or not, but the cop was taking this girl's hijab off on the beach, which if you know anything about Islamic culture is completely uncool and terrible. And if you know Islamic history, the Muslims did an entire jihad, an entire war, because some dude took off the girl's hijab head covering in a market. And them dudes went to war over it. Okay, so, but the fact of the matter is they didn't just go after Christianity, if that's what happened. They also went after, pretty much anything religious. We continue.
Artsy, fartsy, and very modern. And actually, when you stop and think about it, as an American... red-blooded American, I look at it and I go, that's kind of weird. But ultimately, it really is just the most French shit of all time. Okay. So I was watching it, and then I go on Twitter, and I start scrolling through, and I don't know if I've ever seen as big of a meltdown as the right was having over this opening ceremony. Okay, so let me walk you through it. Now, I can't...
This is one of the things that gets me about modern leftists. I don't know what Kulinski would consider himself to be, but anything that disagrees with them, they call it right wing.
Oh.
There's a lot of, quote, left-wing Christians who are upset at the mockery of the Last Supper, if that's what was going on. Notice the big kind of thing. Kyle is not a religious person, and so what I found with internet atheists is that when you debate them, when you like lock them down in a debate, they'll say, "Oh, I don't know definitively that there isn't a God or gods. I'm just not convinced." Mm-hmm. But when they're actually handling the situation, especially on home court, they don't talk like it's a debatable issue. They talk like the whole thing is fairy tale, the whole thing is woo-woo, blah, 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 blah. When it's time to actually debate and defend that position, that's when they get really technical and very careful about their speech. But if you catch them when they're, you can actually see their actual mentality. This is ridiculous. What are you guys doing? Blah, blah, blah. We continue.
Actually click and play you any of the videos because apparently they're being really harsh with copyright on it, but you can tell from the screenshots, from the pictures, roughly what it was like. There was a lot of weird interpretive dancing and crazy costumes and drag queens and things of that nature. And this, I mean, they had a nuclear meltdown over it. So let's start with this one. Clint Russell of the Liberty...
How many people did the Christians in Paris kill over this?
Nuclear meltdown.
Like, what nuclear meltdown? I mean, people, like, what's the giant meltdown? I don't understand. Like, people kill people? Did they set fire to the Olympics? Like, what are we talking about?
Block podcast said, "This is crazy. Opening your event by replacing Jesus and the disciples at the Last Supper with men in drag. There are 2.4 billion Christians on the earth, and apparently the Olympics wanted to declare loudly to all of them, right out of the gate, not welcome."
You know what's fascinating to me? Like I said, I haven't seen this thing. I'm seeing it, the text back and forth. I wonder what would happen if we had the Olympics, let's say in Nigeria, and the opening ceremony was a complete mockery of Judaism. Let's say the opening ceremony was mocking Anne Frank, for example. Yeah, so let's say we had imagery of people with big giant noses and a lot of money, and we are clearly recreating the Anne Frank scene when she was up there with them folks. Would this kind of posture
be okay?
Would any of us have this kind of posture? Kanye sent a tweet, it was the end of the world. These folks do an entire production and now we're mocking Christians.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just saying, I get it, but you got to understand the other perspective. The folks that are represented by what we call Judaism do a very, very good job of positioning themselves so that there's a price to pay for even calling a dude who sells sex toys with his daughter. Call that guy an unholy rabbi. That gets Candace Owens deleted from Daily Wire.
Figure that one out.
So I mean, I'm sorry, guys, but the attitude is very, very interesting to see.
Okay, now, this 100% was not the Last Supper, but more on that in a minute because I want to show you all the meltdowns first.
So that's the problem. The problem is that this is Olympics. You have the gods on Mount Olympus. You kind of had a polytheistic or a henotheistic kind of setup. We got Zeus and all these other ones.
Yep.
And so people are saying, listen, you ignorant Christians, this has nothing to do with your religion. This is about Dionysus or Bacchus or whatever, etc., etc. We continue.
Then we get to this one. "I'm not even Christian and this is so unbelievably offensive to me."
I told you. You don't have to be a right-winger to recognize what's going on over there. We continue.
And you can see the picture here. This is from the opening ceremony. This is the Last Supper. By the way, I find it hilarious that now the right wing online has become the 2015 era social justice warrior lefties who are offended at everything. I mean, this snowflaker...
Offended at everything? Well, my brother, if it is the Last Supper, it's literally talking about the last... the upper room discourse, John 14 through 18. It's the last meal and will of testament of Jesus Christ, not 24 hours before he went to the cross. That's a pretty sick. It's just like I said about Anne Frank. Would anybody tolerate a retelling of the Anne Frank story, mocking the fact that they were hiding out in the attic up there? Like, can you imagine the backlash that would happen?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Meter is off the charts with their reaction to this stuff. More. This is from Speaker Mike Johnson, because, you know, the Speaker of the House has nothing better to do than bitch about an opening ceremony. He says, last night's mockery of the Last Supper was shocking and insulting to Christian people around the world who watched the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. The war on our faith and traditional values knows no bounds today, but we know that truth and virtue will always prevail. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. So in other words, this represents this.
That's John 1. This is a light, the true light that is coming into the world, which gives light to every man. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. That's speaking of Jesus in John chapter 1. We continue.
Is darkness. This represents evil and hedonism and debauchery.
Donald Pinkleton says, oh my God, it's based off of a Greek painting that is older than the Last Supper. I expected better than that from you too. Well, Donald, I haven't commented yet as to how I interpreted the performance. I said these are what are making the evangelicals upset. I haven't yet said what I believe about the production.
Right.
But I appreciate you commenting. It's a free speech environment. We do not only feature people that agree with us, we have to feature people that disagree with us, because that is the entire point of Middle America. Come and welcome.
But
Donald.
you are jumping to conclusions.
We continue. We continue.
It can't just be people dancing and having fun, because that's not a thing. It's not a thing. Okay, more. Marco Rubio. In the last time, there will be scoffers who live according to their own godless desires. So he's saying, again, this represents the godless. And by the way, in the last time.
If they were mocking the Last Supper, then that would be an accurate application of 2 Peter 3, which says that godlessness was going to, 1 Timothy, which says that godlessness is going to increase in the last days, especially mockers and scoffers. And again, Kyle Kulinski is mocking and scoffing at Christians right now. So it's kind of one of those self-fulfilling prophecies things. We continue.
He's saying we're close to end times. We're close to the rapture, the apocalypse.
That I disagree with. I do not believe we're close to the end. I don't believe we're in the end times. I think we're like a toddler. I think the church is like a toddler at this point in history. So the rapture is where God's going to take we're actually reading a rapture book together, but it's where God takes all the Christians from the earth and then he leaves it to the Antichrist for 7 years, all that jazz.
Armageddon. I find it hilarious. We get a new story every other day about just how devastating the scenario is with climate change and how we're marching off of a cliff as human civilization. He doesn't give a fuck about that. In fact, he pretends like it's not even real, but a bunch of drag queens dancing around.
You know, abusing the land is a very grave sin in the Bible, Old and New Testament. Like, for example, one of the reasons that God gave for having the Babylonians come and kill a bunch of them and send the rest of them into slavery was because, and God says, then the land will enjoy its Sabbaths. So they were not supposed to till the land and take all the resources from the land as much as they wanted. There were entire segments of times where they were to stop working. And there were entire years where they couldn't do anything with the land, which does not help capitalism very much. They had to let the land rest, and they wouldn't do that because they were good capitalists. And so God said, I'm sending these people to destroy you. And one of the reasons is you didn't take care of the land. And by the way, this continues in the New Testament where God says in the book of Revelation, dear listener, the time has come for you to judge the dead and for the destruction of those who destroy the earth. So the text says that God is going to destroy the destroyers of the earth. That's what it says. So any Christian who's walking around saying that climate care or creation care is not important is ridiculous. Aside from be fruitful and multiply. The first ever commandment God gave us was to have a lot of sex. I'm doing my part. But the second commandment God gave us is not love your neighbors. It is have dominion over the earth. In other words, steward the earth the way that I would if I was down there. God would not destroy and pillage and set everything on fire and put a bunch of smoke in the air and kill thousands of seals in the water. God wouldn't do that. So if we as Christians have got, this is why I said like we're in the toddler stage of our development. We're not thinking very clearly relative to the climate change stuff.
Part of the reason that God gave us the planet is for us to recognize his goodness and his care for human beings as a whole. So when we just strip the land of everything that it has and we take everything we possibly can from it, it doesn't have like a lot of gratefulness. It's like, okay, you just took everything. You didn't recognize it for its purposes. You didn't recognize it for, like, I always tell our kids, like, I know when you appreciate something because you take care of it.
Right.
When you don't care about something, you destroy it. A lot of times, if kids don't have to work for what they want, like, they become teenagers, they want a bike. If they pay for their bike, usually that makes a difference as to how they're going to take care of it. And it's the same with our planet. like we've been gifted this planet. We didn't have to work for it. It was just given to us. And, sometimes we make decisions about this planet that are extremely destructive. And it's supposed to turn us back to God and recognize his goodness and his provision, which I think was part of the reason why they had to give the land a break, was because the land itself was not providing for the people. But because they worked the land, they would think, oh, the land is providing this for me. But it was actually God that was their provision. And so whether it was in a year of working or a year where they had to let it rest, still God was their provider. And so I think it was a testament of faith and a way for them and God to kind of like move into a new place because you walked in more faith.
Good call. We continue.
Somehow represents the end times and the rapture. God, these people are such babies. They are the biggest babies I've ever seen. Okay, so now here's the first truth bomb to drop on you. It wasn't the Last Supper. The blue guy rolling around on the table was supposed to be Dionysus, the Greek god of fertility and wine. Get a grip, seriously. So this is one of the guys they were melting down over, this weird...
Get a grip, okay.
That originally, I thought that was Krishna.
That's what I thought, too.
Shout out to the homie Krishna.
Yeah.
Krishna's blue, and he's kind of playful and things like that, but that's supposed to represent Bacchus or Dionysus.
I see.
When Spurgeon uses terms like bacchanalian revelry,
Mm-hmm.
that's what he's talking about. We're going to get really drunk. We're going to have a lot of sex with a lot of random people. Don't really care if it's a dude or a girl. That's bacchanalianism. So the way that you would, worship Bacchus is to get completely just drunk and all the rest of it. That's why Peter talks about not taking part in their debauchery, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
So we continue. Now remember, very important. Kyle, I'm going to say it again because this is very important.
As human civilization, he doesn't give a fuck about that. In fact, he pretends like it's not even real, but a bunch of drag queens dancing around somehow represents the end times and the rapture. God, these people are such babies. They are the biggest babies I've ever seen. Okay, so now here's the first truth bomb to drop on you. It wasn't the Last Supper. The blue guy rolling around on the table was supposed to be Dionysus, the Greek god of fertility and wine. Get a grip, seriously. So this is one of the guys they were melting down over, this weird Smurf-looking ginger dude. And didn't give a fuck about that. In fact, he pretends like it's not even real, but a bunch of drag queens dancing around somehow represents the end times and the rapture.
Said it wasn't the Last Supper.
God, these people are such babies. They are the biggest babies I've ever seen. Okay, so now here's the first truth bomb to drop on you.
Okay.
It wasn't...
So the guy that dropped the truth bomb, his name is Brian Schott, S-C-H-O-T-T.
The Last Supper. The blue guy rolling around on the table was supposed to be Dionysus, the Greek god of fertility and wine. Get a grip, seriously. So this is one of the guys they were melting down over, this weird Smurf-looking ginger dude. And this is who it's supposed to be. Dionysus. Now, by the way, I looked it up. And it turns out that wasn't supposed to represent the Last Supper. It's supposed to represent the Greek pantheon.
There you
Because
go.
this is the Olympics we're talking about. They show the Greek pantheon, the Greek gods. And no point in all their fucking meltdown, every single one on there, just absolutely losing their shit collectively. And no point did a single one of them Google and go, hey, is this really what I'm interpreting it as? Or what's the... Turns out...
This is one of the things that really gets me about internet atheists. I was in an internet atheist debate hub Remember, it's me and Johnny Haas.
Yep.
I got to tell you guys, how do I say this? The folks who we were, we all eventually left because we couldn't get any debate partners after a while. But what you're about to see is one of the clearest reasons I know that this movement it's already dead. But I knew that this movement can't really withstand any longevity because of what we're about to see here. One of the things that happens with a lot of these folks is they really truly believe their own press. They truly believe that Christians are dumb and irrational and that they are the intellectual giants in the world. And Christians are just dumb. So he said, you guys are so dumb, you didn't Google. That's like when I run into Christians, they say, if evolution is true, then why are there still monkeys? Mm-hmm. And I go, man, you think that what are the odds you think that the Darwinists have come up with an answer for that? Like, what are the odds that something so blatant and explicit could be overlooked and you and your pastor in Greenbow, Alabama figured it out?
Yeah.
Now, the problem is, and it wasn't a problem for us when we debate, because initially when we showed up, they were like all about it, and then, Haas twisted him up, made him look silly or whatever, and this is like one of the clear moments. So we're gonna watch this again. This is incredible.
Who it's supposed to be, Dionysus. Now, by the way, I looked it up, and it turns out that wasn't supposed to represent the Last Supper. It's supposed to represent the Greek pantheon. Because this is the Olympics we're talking about. They show the Greek pantheon, the Greek gods. At no point in all their fucking meltdown, every single one on there just absolutely losing their shit collectively. At no point did a single one of them Google and go, hey, is this really what I'm interpreting it as? Or what's the... Turns out it's not. Turns out it's not. But it doesn't matter because they'll take offense at fucking anything. I love this one. So as you can see here again, is the Last Supper compared to the Greek pantheon, which they don't realize is the Greek pantheon. This guy says...
You want to pause it?
Yeah, I was going to say, who gets offended on everything? Christians? Is that what he's saying?
That's what he's trying to say.
If we got offended on everything, is he saying we just don't have enough influence to change it? Because if we got offended on everything...
No, he's just saying that Christians get offended at everything and they're babies and they're dumb, they're ignorant, that type of thing. That's all he's saying. You can say that about Christians. There's other groups of people you cannot say that about. There's like a sliding scale.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like you can't say anything bad about Jewish people.
Yeah.
Right under Jewish people are trans people. Under trans people are the gay. And then after that, you can't say anything bad about black people. You can't say anything bad about women. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, but my thing is, if Christians really are this giant crybaby group of people, then why would the Olympics allow something that could just turn into this big giant problem? Like if we're like...
Because they're French and they have no regard for religion. And when you're born and raised in that kind of environment, it's kind of hard to see it from a different perspective. And they know that we're not going to kill them. We just won't do it.
Yeah.
Kyle and the rest of these folks know what would happen if you did something mocking Judaism. You would get, we've seen what happened. Mehdi Hassan, from a major news network, Mehdi Hassan, Brianna, and Candace. What all three of those people have in common? We continue.
The only reason the left stopped routinely murdering millions of people is that everyone stopped resisting. What the fuck does a bunch of people in drag around a table? What the fuck does that have to do with setting up death camps? Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? There's not even a stretch of an argument that I could try to make for you to attempt to steel man your point before I smack it down. There is nothing there.
Well, that's not true. As we've talked about on numerous occasions, the Orlovsky, who was a key figure in the Soviet Union, was assigned a group called the League of the Militant Godless, in which Mr. Orlovsky stated that the reason their specific brand of communism was so effective was because of, and I quote, the spirit of militant state atheism. Mm-hmm. So when the Leninists and the Stalinists came out, they didn't come out murking people, they came out mocking people initially. Then it turned into the gulags and the death camp, and 100 million plus people died. Those were all people on the left. Those are just facts. Now, I understand you cannot wear a swastika because we've already told you about the hierarchy of value, but you can wear a hammer and sickle. The people who were persecuted by the swastika were a certain ethnicity, and the people persecuted by the hammer and the sickle were a certain belief system. And more were killed in B than in A. We continue.
The only reason the left stopped routinely murdering millions of people is that everyone stopped resisting. Look at the over-the-top outrage over what's just a artsy-fartsy opening ceremony. Okay, more. Here we go. Oh, God. So we got Elon here. Elon was forced to see LGBTQ people on TV and got so upset, he literally said the world was ending. Now, you guys all know Elon. This is what he does. Where's the wind blowing online? How can I hop in front of a parade and pretend like I'm a hero of right-wing freaks? Well, here we go. This person says, reject degeneracy. And he says, this was extremely disrespectful to Christians. Wait for it, guys. Again, I have a massive bomb of truth to drop on you after we talk about the stuff Elon said. Wait for it. This person says, why, again, is comparing it to the Last Supper, because doing this results in fewer dead people than if the imagery of Islam were mocked. So this is their other argument. Oh, yeah? Mock Islam. Yeah, because, the French, well known for not mocking Islam. Have we just memory hold the whole thing with the French magazine drawing Muhammad and the backlash? Or, what are we doing here? Are you guys all fucking 17?
It wasn't a backlash.
Somebody ended up dead.
They murdered people in broad daylight. He calls it a backlash. That's a hell of a backlash, my boy. They killed people.
IQ. Elon responds again, Christianity has become toothless. Oh, it's toothless? So what would you like to see them do, Elon? Would you like to see some angry Christians with pitchforks?
That's what I'm concerned about. This Andrew Tate sort of religion. Andrew Tate said he joined Islam because the Christians were too weak. And people wanted me to go after Andrew Tate. And I said, no, he's right. Christianity is not for strong people who can carry their own weight and pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Christianity is for really, really weak people that can't overcome their addictions, their habits, and can't get out of bed without Jesus taking them out. That's what Jesus means to me. And the Last Supper was the moment where all of that came crashing on his head, and it put him in a real state of mental, emotional, and spiritual distress. But because he loved me, and he knew that I can't get out of bed without him, he went to the cross. That's what the Last Supper means to me. Now look, you don't believe that, and that's okay. But to say something that has meant so much to literally 1 billion people for over thousands of years, to take that imagery and then use it in mockery is very hurtful and painful to the billions of people that have been helped by that specific moment. And so, look, I understand. He doesn't care. Whatever. It's all good. We continue.
Running up, lighting shit on fire, rioting over a bunch of drag queens dancing around in circles. What are we fucking talking about here?
Right. Jesus said we would be persecuted. So I'm not a fan of the whole Christianity has become toothless. Okay, so Elon, what would you have said in the first century when Nero was setting Christians on fire to light his gardens? When thousands and thousands of Christians were marching to the arena, when Perpetua was stripped and she was lactating because she had just had a baby, and they murdered her in broad daylight in the sands of the arena. That's what we're talking about. So I guess Andrew Tate and Elon would call that toothless Christianity as well. We continue.
Loser. Okay, look at this one. Eurovision 2024 versus Paris Olympics 2024. What's happening in Europe? And as you can see, the Eurovision thing, this person looks like it's like demon Halloween costume type makeup. And Elon says, end of days vibes. Oh, is it Elon? It's end of days vibes? Guys, computer enhance on Elon Musk's Twitter account. Computer enhance. Look at the picture of him here. You guys see the costume he's wearing in this picture? That's his Twitter picture. You guys see this? You guys see this? He's dressed as Baphomet. He's dressed in a satanic costume.
This guy.
Now, look, unlike him, I'm not a weirdo. I don't think he's dressing in a satanic costume because he literally is satanic. I think he's doing it for whatever he did it for Halloween or whatever the fuck, and he just still has that as his Twitter picture. But you cannot look at others and say, that is satanic, that is Luciferian, that is evil, that is not right. When the same fucking picture you have up on your own Twitter right this very second is you dressed in some satanic shit.
I don't see.
You can't do that, Elon. You can't do that. You cannot look at others in a satanic costume because he literally is satanic on Elon Musk's Twitter account.
I mean, what is he talking about?
I don't either. I don't see what he's talking about. That to me looks like it's like this red.
What the hell is he talking about? He's wearing like a what's that? Not Captain America. Who's
that's what I. Yeah.
Iron Man. Like he's based. I have no idea what he's talking about here. Elon is dressed up like Iron Man, which is fitting because Iron Man was a rich guy who was using all his powers for good. That black leather pick is not him, bro.
It's this.
Yeah, that's Iron Man. That's not Baphomet, or that's a Roman centurion or something like that.
Iron Man.
But it definitely doesn't look like Baphomet.
No.
I mean, I don't.
What is he talking about?
This lady is Baphomet. What a weirdo.
I'm sending you the
computer enhanced. Look at the picture of him here. You guys see the costume he's wearing in this picture?
It's right here.
What costume are you talking about?
That's what he's talking about, the one in his picture, and he zoomed in on that. Can you put it up?
What?
So people can see it a little bit better. It looks like there's a friggin' heart on her.
Somebody get me this screenshot. I don't see Elon dressed up as Baphomet.
Babe,
what
I
are they
sent
talking
it to you. I zoomed in on it. It's better here go in your messages.
Yeah, I have no idea what Kyle is talking about here. Is that Baphomet? Is he saying that?
Is he
oh, I see it right there. That right there. See that?
Yeah.
That looks like the horns of Baphomet. Remember when we watched?
It looks like a friggin' heart.
Remember when we watched the Hail Satan thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. That. Remember in they had Baphomet. He was looking. I mean,
I don't see Baphomet there, but.
Well, I'm like, imagine that being the horns. See what I'm saying?
That's some dull-looking horns, and it looks like bunny ears or.
All right.
Something.
We continue.
That's his Twitter picture. You guys see this? He's dressed as Baphomet. He's dressed in a satanic costume. Now, look, unlike him, I'm not a weirdo. I don't think he's dressing in a satanic costume because he literally is satanic. I think he's doing it for whatever he did it for Halloween or whatever the fuck, and he just still has that as his Twitter picture. But you cannot look at others and say, that is satanic, that is Luciferian, that is evil, that is not right. When the same fucking picture you have up on your own Twitter right this very second is you dressed in some satanic shit. You can't do that, Elon. You can't do that. That makes no sense.
You send it to me?
Oh my God, I hate this guy. Some people pretend like he's this fucking mega genius who's gonna save the world. This guy. I love this one.
Well,
reject.
You guys were saying that until he bought Twitter. Until he came out of the closet as a right-winger. You guys were saying that he was going to save the world. Like, there's literally articles from the New York Times saying how Elon is going to save the world. You chose the absolute worst picture.
Well,
okay, no, that's a good one. Okay, so right there on the breastplate is Baphomet.
Can you zoom it?
That's why I said, like, if you just think about the horns.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I can see
good call out by Kulinski. I don't care. Look, if that's an oversight on Elon's part, I'm sure he understands that, but he's right here. It is kind of hypocritical. We continue.
Degeneracy, and it's this person.
Well,
Matter of fact,
I don't think
more people have probably come across Elon's Baphomet than this lady's, because Elon is impossible.
He's not saying he's not saying that there's an issue with Baphomet or anything satanic. His issue is when you're trying to mix the two and you're taking something that's been a staple of Christianity and you're mixing it like that. I think that's Elon. Elon didn't say anything about having an issue with anything satanic.
I'm sure.
Obviously, he's got Baphomet on the front of his outfit.
Well, no. Well, he took a person dressed up as Baphomet and then said it was the end of days.
Well, yeah.
So he's saying, look at this woman. She's got a Baphomet, whatever on.
Oh,
it must be the end of the world. While he's got his profile, and he's Elon Musk. He has literally like 100 million followers on Twitter.
Okay,
so
I misunderstood.
I give this to Kyle. Good call out, Kyle.
Beheaded person wearing red, right, holding their head. Okay.
That's Marie Antoinette.
He says, this was extremely disrespectful to Christians.
It looks to
Why?
me that Elon is probably in the Jordan Peterson space where he like flirts with Christianity
Yeah.
because he knows how Christians are.
Yeah.
But it's clear that he's not necessarily educated on Christian history yet.
I would
Although
agree
Marie
with that.
Antoinette, I mean, that was the let them eat cake lady, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I actually think that would be appropriate considering where we are financially economically in the world, especially considering where we are mentally. You know, the whole eat the rich stuff and everything. Yep,
I
there's.
don't know if that, because some people were not saying that they could still see it, so I just wanted to like give the.
Yeah, that's clearly Baphomet. Okay, so I actually think the Marie Antoinette thing was very important. Like I said, I didn't see the opening ceremonies, but I do think that that's important because the elements that sparked such a bloody revolution are here on a global scale now. And I think that it's important to remember situations like this so that we don't repeat them again or whatever.
I agree.
I
agree.
support this. I don't understand how this would be disrespectful to Christians.
Yeah. We
You
didn't see the ceremony, so.
Absolute, colossal, legendary morons. This is supposed to be Marie Antoinette. This is supposed to represent the French Revolution, not some satanic shit. They're in France. It's the Olympics opening ceremony. They're doing some French Revolution shit. He doesn't know that. They don't know this. They don't know this. Oh my God. More insanity. This is Barbara Butch from the Olympics opening ceremony. Turns out she's Jewish. And what does that have to do with anything? Okay, you all know what they're trying to say, right? They're trying to say, aha, see, the satanic cabal of Jews are infiltrating.
There it is! There it is! Kyle just spent 10 minutes berating Christians, calling us babies, all type of craziness. And then somebody mentions this lady's Jewish, and you know what's going on here. You know the subtext and blah, 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 blah. It's incredible. Like, they really don't see it. It's crazy.
Western Christian society, and they're trying to take it down, and they're doing these displays of hedonism and debauchery and evil, and they're rubbing it in our face as they go. That's what they're trying to say. I also saw people saying the like creative art director who set this whole thing up, that guy was Jewish also. Okay, let's call a spade a spade. This is fucking pure anti-Semitism. There's some artsy weirdos partaking.
So
That's the conclusion?
So mocking one of the most holy moments in Christianity. Oh, stop being a bitch.
Yeah.
Pointing out the fact that the people that took part in the mockery, that is just full-blown anti-Semitism. What did I tell y'all? I didn't pre-see this video. I just knew it. Unbelievable. God almighty. We continue.
In an Olympic opening ceremony. They're not like fucking connected to global international bankers setting up some massive conspiracy and trying to shove Christians into camp.
Nobody said that about Shorty. Nobody said that about Shorty.
And trying to take over the world. Like, what the fuck are you babbling about, you absolute morons? She's Jewish. Who cares? Who cares? This is some Nazi shit, man. This is some Nazi shit that we're looking at here. This is my favorite of all of the universal meltdown that was happening. This is my favorite right here. So there was one part where people are convinced, oh my God, one of the dancers purposefully took their ball sack out. Look at this. So here, let me zoom in for you. So first of all, I'd like to ask the question, who was the first one who originally noticed this? Because my guess is there were really...
Probably somebody's 5-year-old. I gotta tell you, this public nudity thing that folks in certain communities do, especially when they know that children are going to be watching, I'm never going to be cool with it. I don't care what religion or sociological thing you tap on top of it. I'm a dude with a bunch of kids, and shit is not cool. It's actually a form of sexual abuse, actually. We continue.
Angry right-winger who was purposefully checking all of the crotches of all of the people dancing. Which is a totally normal and not weird thing to do, right? Let me zoom in on all their crotches because this is so hot. I mean, disgusting. And so somebody found this, right? And they go, oh, the ball sack's out. Now, look, as a ball sack haver, what I can tell, it's like demon...
Pause it. You can zoom into any crotch in a church, and you're not going to see that. Like, I don't know why anybody zoomed in on it. I can't even see
in
what
our
we're
day and
seeing,
age, in our day and age, what's more likely?
But my thing is, when you see this crew of people, they're usually doing something excessively naked, excessively, or it just goes over the top. So in a crowd like that at that event, it's nearly impossible that there wasn't going to be something.
And again, in 2024, what are the odds that a white dude in his 40s and 50s found it, or a teenager found it? I'd say it's probably more likely that a teenager found that. These old people don't even know how to zoom into shit. I'm sorry. We continue.
Full of Christians.
I want to
wait for it, guys. I have a massive bomb of truth to drop on you after we talk about the stuff Elon said. Wait for it. This person says, why, again, is comparing it to the Last Supper. Just absolutely losing their shit collectively.
Okay.
And no point did a single one of them Google.
Here it is.
Go, hey, is this really what I'm interpreting it as? Or what's the... Turns out it's not. Turns out it's not. But it doesn't matter because they'll take offense at fucking anything.
Okay, so he's saying that the Christians are so ignorant that they took and I've seen a lot of my secularist friends do this. Christians are so uneducated, they took a feast for Bacchanalia or whatever and thought it was the Last Supper, yada, 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 yada. You guys are dumb. You guys need... one of my good friends said we need better education in America. Dear listener, I actually did Google. And I'm going to share with all you beautiful people what I discovered in my Googling. Here we go. Here, Exhibit A. Here is a tourist website for France, where it's this guy says everyone's saying it's a recreation of a Greek festival, not the Last Supper. Why did Paris's tourism website list it as a recreation of the Last Supper? I believe the page has since been removed. Here is Sortir Paris. Celebrate the games at the heart of Paris. All the information here. Also, on the Passerelle des Billy, that's how you talk about the Last Supper in French, is a familiar scene reenacted by drag queens, including the famous Nikki Doll surrounding Barbara Bush at her turntables. A recreation of the Last Supper, another famous painting by Leonardo da Vinci set against the backdrop of the Seine. As you may have guessed, this is a multiple pun in French. A fashion show follows, etc., etc., etc. So, this French tourism site said it was a recreation of the Last Supper.
Why would you say that?
Kyle, don't you have Google?
A simple Google search would have helped you out.
Weird. Let's continue. See if we can help. We can help Kyle. Okay. We continue. Here are what the producers of the show actually said. Let me post the actual the title of the article, and then I'll read you a segment. Here we go. Paris Olympics producers say the Last Supper inspired that opening ceremony scene. Many have done it before. The ceremony's designer, Thomas Jolly, meanwhile, says his inspiration was Dionysus, the Greek god of wine and pleasure. So the producers of the show and the tourists that were trying to get people to the show both said this was specifically lifted from the Last Supper. We specifically did a parody of the Last Supper. That's what they said. So Kyle Kulinski's like, you dumb Christians, you guys don't know how to Google?
It's crazy too, because I'm the one that had that information that it actually was depicted that way and that it was set out there multiple times. And I'm not much into politics. So why is Kyle saying we should do a simple Google search?
Listen, I'm seeing a lot
What's happening?
I'm seeing a lot of my friends like really post some real cringy shit, man. It's bad. Here is the article. For the festivities segment, Thomas Jolly took inspiration from... These are the producers! For the festivities segment, Thomas Jolly took inspiration from Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting to create the setting, producers said in the statement. Clearly, there was never an intention to show disrespect toward any religious group or belief. Right, because Christianity has always been a purveyor of drag shows and dudes walking around half naked with their junk out, celebrating debauchery. We continue. Clearly, there was never an intention to show disrespect toward any religious group or belief. Jolly is not the first artist to make a reference to what is a world-famous work of art. From Andy Warhol to The Simpsons, many have done it before him. End quote. These are the producers, Kyle. They got a bunch of backlash. They deleted a bunch of tweets. They took the video down because they explicitly told us it was about the Last Supper, dear listener. Holy smokes. I read some more, though. I read some more. Here is Barbara Butch. Barbara Butch is the name of the individual who
was in the middle of the picture, depicting Jesus.
Yeah. She was supposed to be the Jesus figure.
It's a trans woman.
Yeah, trans woman. Once again, not an affront to Christianity at all. Trans woman playing Jesus. Not an attack on Christianity at all. Here we go. Barbara Butch, who wore a silver Ariel halo crown headdress and low-cut dress while portraying a figure some interpreted to be Jesus in the sketch, posted a screenshot image of her performance above an image of Da Vinci's original painting to her Instagram account with the comment, oh yes, the New Gay Testament. It was later deleted.
As a matter of fact, her entire account is gone.
It was later deleted. Why? How come? It was later deleted. Well, what did she delete? Thankfully for you guys, I have some actual video evidence. Here we go. Barbara Bush, the woman in the center, posted this. Notice that this person is using the correct pronouns. Barbara Butch, the woman in the center, posted the photo on her Instagram, admitting that this photo had everything to do with mocking the scripture. She then deleted it a few hours later and called it the Feast of the Gods. Nope, caught. Here we go. Here's the original post from Miss Bush. Oh, yes. Oh, now notice. We got people losing their minds telling you we will kill ourselves if you don't address us by the proper pronoun. Mm-hmm. We will kill ourselves. What did Mulvaney say? Dylan Mulvaney said that misgendering somebody should be illegal. So these folks are openly attacking Christianity, mocking the things that are most important to Christians. No problem. If you have a problem with it, that's on you. You're a crazy crybaby Christian. But then if somebody says, I can't call you a woman because I truly believe you're a man and I don't want to participate in lying, they're a horrible, terrible, evil person and we need to put this person on suicide watch. Okay, we continue. So here's what she actually said. This is her original YouTube account. Oh yes, Gay New Testament. Right there. Couple hours later, that was deleted, and then, happy for the Feast of the Gods. So apparently the person who was in the middle believed it was a Last Supper recreation. The producers believed it was a Last Supper recreation.
The advertisers for
the tourism section believed it was that. But here comes Coughlin, you damn Christian.
Google something, idiots. Okay, Kyle. Lay off on the hair dye. Something's not going well for you.
Hey, shout out to Kyle. shout out to Kyle Ball. Kyle Ball in the house. Shout out to Kyle Ball. Dear listener, this is obviously
we know what this
intended
is.
To mock Christians and Christianity at a global stage, and they did not think that the backlash would be that severe. And so because of that, they try to change the narrative, and unfortunately, a lot of y'all, some of whom are in this chat, y'all made some mistakes. Now, I know it's a free speech environment, but I also know that people have egos, so I'm not going to call you out specifically. But I would encourage you. I shot a video about abortion about a year and a half ago, and there was a story about a 10-year-old girl who had been assaulted by the mom's boyfriend, and she ended up pregnant, and then the where she was had an abortion restriction, so they took her across and killed the child. And at the time, there was immediately Fox News backlash saying, we don't have any evidence of this, blah, 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 blah. Now, I shot the video. I did not say explicitly this didn't happen. I use language that basically communicated what I thought happened in reality, but it was neutral because, you know how I am. But the next day it came out that there was evidence that there was an actual girl in that situation. I went back and shot a video just as long saying, even though I did not say technically, a person watching that would have interpreted it that way and they'd be right to do so. I was wrong in that, even if I use the right technical language, because there's a letter of law and the spirit of law. So we did a 40-minute video debunking my previous video. And there were people saying, well, don't we need proof? Don't we need the girl's name? I said, no, we don't need the girl's name. I'm good with it being where it's at. I'm not gonna say some dumb shit like that, because we all know that they were never gonna release the girl's name, nor should they. So I was not gonna have that as my standards of evidence. Sorry. Many y'all should have that philosophy, but you can't because you don't believe in the Last Supper. See, dear listener, I understand it's a painting to a lot of you guys. But for people who've actually experienced Jesus Christ, and I'll tell you, the technical term for that, especially in the Gospel of John, is called the upper room discourse. And I was in a situation where, you guys know I had a little bit of a tumultuous relationship with my ex. I mean, she's my ex. And something pretty terrible and traumatic happened. I was by myself. Basically, she went missing. And I called up her mom in New York and I said, hey, she's on the way to you. Tell her to call me when you get there. And then a day happens, she's not there. 2 days happen, she's not there. So me and her mom are going crazy, freaking out. And I'm in my room by myself, losing my mind. I can't make this work. People don't love me, blah, blah, blah. Feeling sorry for myself. And for whatever reason, I was guided to the upper room discourse. Now, I hate that segment in the Gospels. I never read it. You guys know how I am. I'm not by disposition a turn the other cheek guy. I love reading passages where Jesus squares up with the Pharisees, yes, Jewish leaders, and he calls them snakes and broods of vipers. I love when Jesus is out there breaking rules and not afraid of nobody. I hate that segment where Jesus allows himself to get attacked, brutalized, spit on, all the rest of it. I hate that. I hate being able to destroy somebody, and for whatever reason, you can't activate that for a higher purpose. So you just gotta stay quiet while this guy does what he does and has no idea. I hate that part of the Bible. If I was writing the Bible, I would just put in, and Jesus is crucified, and then spend all the time on the resurrection. I can't stand seeing Jesus in that situation. But there I was. Wifey's gone. I'm 19, 20 years old. Wifey's gone. Called mom-in-law. She doesn't know where she is. Mom-in-law's freaking out. I'm freaking out. I don't know what happened. There's suicidal ideation, homicidal ideation in her family, blah, 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 blah. And God directs me to the upper room discourse. And the things that Jesus said to those disciples in the Last Supper kept me alive. Even though I hate that whole scene because of what it means, Jesus said some of the most significant things. Even as the Father has loved you, even as the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Jesus looking at his disciples and saying, I love you just as much as God the Father loved me. And I remember saying to myself, that can't be real. And God said, man, would you be quiet? I said it, it's there, it's real, I believe it. You should believe it. I'm sure God believes but it's there, man. Just accept it. I love you as much as I love Jesus. And I just kept reading, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. He said, I said these things to you so that in me you'll have peace. In this world you'll have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world. I remember there was this girl, first time we met her, prayer meeting, and Sori baptized her that night. Like an hour into the prayer meeting, she was baptized that night. And so she's looking around because, she's in downtown Lewiston, hard life. And I directed her to John chapter 16. I've said these things to you that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. That was her first memory verse. Because when you get on the team, the entire world crashes on you. She had all the nice progressive people that she was hanging out with, doing all the free sex stuff with, doing all the drug shit. They were all fine with it. As soon as she started talking about Jesus, they all had a problem. Mm-hmm. She'd had a miscarriage and never dealt with it. She'd been sexually assaulted and never dealt with it. In this world, you will have trouble. But take heart, be brave. I've overcome the world. He said that in the upper room discourse. He also said, a new commandment I give you is I have loved you, so you should love one another. There's nothing in any of the Gospels where Jesus says something like that. Lord, we don't know the place you're going. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but me. There are so many comforting things. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not, I would have told you. But if I did tell you, I'll prepare a place for you and then come back and bring you to myself. Mm-hmm. These words are quoted in every funeral. I had an emergency situation. Somebody called me up and said, yo, so-and-so died. Nobody's going to do the funeral. Can you do the funeral? I did the funeral. That was the passage. Same place, upper room discourse. And then, of course, John chapter 17. Unbelievable. The time has come. Glorify your Son, that your Son may glorify you. For you've given him authority over all people, that he might give eternal life to all those you have given him. And this is eternal life, that they may know you and Jesus Christ whom you have sent. I mean, he just goes on and on. I pray for them that they may be one as we are one, so the world may see and know that you have loved them even as I have loved you. I in them and you in me. This crazy unity between Christ and the Father and Christ and Christians, and then bringing us all into the Trinity. Some of the most amazing, unbelievable, Father, though the world does not know you, I know you, and I have made you known to, just some of the most beautiful, crazy things that if you truly believe it, will change your life forever. Mm-hmm. And change the lives of the people around you forever. And these people took that and made a mockery of it. We got people saying, so what, blah, 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 blah. I understand if you don't know Jesus and you've never been in a situation where you ate those words to survive, I get it, bro. I get it. But you should take the time at least to read what happened during the Last Supper. Mm-hmm. Jesus washing the feet of the disciples. Yeah. That was in the Last Supper. The culmination of all Christianity is in that upper room discourse. Love being the primary thing. The intra-Trinitarian sort of plan. The three of them were plotting to bless us from all eternity. And Jesus letting them know that. Jesus saying, what I do for you now, you won't understand, but later you'll understand. He's washing these people's feet. So when they betrayed him and they all ran for their lives, you know what you do when you're upset at yourself, you look down. Or when you're ashamed of yourself, you look down. And they would have seen their feet. And they would have heard Jesus says, what I'm doing for you now, you won't understand till later. They're like, these feet I used to run away from the guy that just washed them for me. Jesus says, if you've had a bath, you don't need to take a bath again. But when you walk around on the street, your feet get dirty. And so all you need is your feet washed. What is he saying? What he's saying is, when you believe in Christ, that's your bath. Mm-hmm. You're completely clean. You can enter into the house. But you know what happens? You don't stay in a temple or a church. You know, Shorty didn't stay in that little basement room when we baptized her. She had to go out into the world. And when you go out into the world, you're going to get dirty because you still have a sinful nature. And so Jesus is saying, I took care of the big bath, and I'm also going to take care of the daily cleansing that you need because of what's going on in the practicalities of the world. Mm-hmm. That is what the Last Supper represents to me and millions of people all over the world. I would encourage you. I know it's very cool and in vogue to be at war and to be offensive and call people names and blah, 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 blah. One of the reasons that I'm not infuriated is because, the Quran has a very interesting way of talking about sin. It'll say you've wronged yourself or you sinned against yourself. And the idea is Allah is so far and above everybody, your little peccadillos doesn't affect him. You're just doing wrong to yourself. Well, that's not the biblical idea. We have a God who allows himself to be vulnerable and he says, if I'm going to be in a real relationship with these people and they're sinful, then they're going to hurt me. Mm-hmm. And God says, I will submit to that, to have that relationship with these people. That's what the Last Supper represents. It represents a God who loves humanity deeply and wants to live with them, make a home with them. In the beginning of the Gospel of John, it says, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And the word for dwelt is tabernacle. Mm-hmm. And in the Old Testament, when they were wandering through the wilderness, God would say, hey, I'm coming along with y'all. Just set me up a tent, and I'll have a tent just like everybody else does. So that was the word tabernacle. And what they're saying is, in Jesus, God is no longer in a tent city. In Jesus, God is permanently moving in with us. Mm-hmm. And he literally says, anybody that takes me into their heart, my Father will come to their heart. We'll make our home with him. That was also in the Upper Room Discourse. Beautiful, 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 hey, Tony the Lone Rider Smith. I got a friend right now. Who suffered a horrific, loved his girlfriend to death, not a Christian, loved his girlfriend to death, and now shorty's gone. Like that. Anything I have to say to him, he knows me, he knows I'm a Christian. People know, like they reach out to me when they need that, right? Everything I've said to him to comfort him came from that Last Supper. Jesus is facing his mortality and the mortality of the people that he loves out of the world. And he looks up to heaven and he says, Father, when I was in the world, I protected them and kept them safe. But now I am going to you. So keep them by the power of your word. Sanctify them by the truth. Your word is truth. So my friends are going through horrible situations. They're like, what does Christianity have to say about this? That's what I got for you, man. I got a Messiah that's about to go to a cross, and 24 hours before that, it's very important to him that he understands, that his people understand that they're going to have trouble in the world, but that he loves them. Mm-hmm. He said, when a woman is in labor, she's in pain because her time has come, which is a very significant statement in the Gospel of John, because the only other time when you hear the time in the Gospel of John is about Jesus's going to the cross. So in 2, she says they have no wine. Jesus says, woman, what do I have to do with this? My time hasn't come. John chapter 8, they try to murder him. The Jewish people try to murder him. And it says he walked right through them. Why? Because his time hadn't come. So when he constantly says that, John chapter 11, now is the time for the Son of Man to be glorified, etc., etc. So when Jesus when he talks about the pregnant woman and he says her time has come, he's connecting what he's about to do on the cross to what a woman does when she brings life into the world. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it. Mm-hmm. And there is nothing more analogous to the cross than a woman giving birth to a child. Nothing.
And when you experience childbirth, like my last delivery was the hardest one I ever experienced. I actually thought I was going to die. And like the connection that I have with him, because like I went through that pain for him, like it intensifies the love that I have for him in this unique way. And I was thinking about it the other day because I just like, I feel like these connections with him, and it's not like you think all the time about how bad the delivery was. You just feel this intensity. And when you stop and think about it, you just remember the genesis of that and how intense that was and what you were willing to do for him. And understanding that, I mean, I didn't die, but I was willing to go as far as it needed to go to get him brought into this world. And like, when I was thinking about it, like I had this moment with God where he was like, that, because my love intensified for my son when I went through that, but God's love is perfect for us. And so his love will never intensify. That means he said that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So before I even turned my face toward God or even wanted to know his name or anything, his love was more intense for me than my love is for my little guy. And so the love that would come forth from going through the experience of the cross, sacrificing yourself for a people or a person, like that intense love, he felt that and knew that for the ones that are his before he even got to the cross. And I do, go ahead.
No, and that's, if you think about a pregnancy, it's completely analogous, because this child is loved before it loves its parent.
Mm-hmm.
This child is prayed for. This child is viewed as precious before he even knows what he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then that mom nurses that child. And then she literally dies to herself in order to bring forth this life for this kid. And that's what Jesus did. We were known, we were loved, we were viewed as precious before we came into consciousness of ourselves and consciousness of him.
Mm-hmm.
These are all facts, dear listener.
I do just want to point out that in Christianity, you're not supposed to make graven images or replicas of God, because first of all, Jesus himself was made in he's the exact imprint of the Father, and we as human beings are made in the image and likeness of God. So the upper room, the Last Supper sort of discourse, a picture has been made, but we were not supposed to do that originally. So if we hadn't have done that, there wouldn't even be a picture for them to mock or to become part of. We are the representation of Jesus, and we're supposed to be his voice, and that's how we're supposed to remember. You know, the Last Supper is what, you know, lots of churches and Christians do on the regular, which is where we break bread together and we drink wine together and we remember what it is that Christ did for us in his death and resurrection. And so that's what all of that is. And you can't, you know, like, you can try to mock that with, you know, with whatever was going on up there. But they don't understand what was actually happening at the Last Supper.
They don't.
But again, they wouldn't have had something to mock if we hadn't have broken that first original principle that we're not supposed to make anything that's in the likeness of Christ. Or God. So
God is gracious said, what happened to your missing ex? Not trying to rock, just shoot. Yeah, she's fine.
Oh, she's
yeah,
we
found Shorty.
Yeah, she like, you know, she turned shit around and, you know, made positive, healthy choices for herself, and continues to do that. And I think that's, you know, sometimes your life kind of gets derailed and wrecked because you sort of get in this like sort of pattern of getting like bad decision after bad decision, and then because you've made it's sort of like, you know, not to be offensive, but it's sort of like somebody who's like, you know, overweight and they're trying to diet, and then they keep messing up during the day, and then they say, fuck it, I'm just gonna eat the entire bag of chips, and I'm gonna eat the bin of ice cream, and because they gave up so much, they just, you know, whatever. But like at some point you have to say, nope, I'm not, even if I ate the whole bag of chips, I don't have to eat the whole container of ice cream to follow. And, you know, basically she just started making positive decisions for herself, and, you know, different, you know, and her and God are doing really good and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I led her to Christ on accident. I had no intention of leading her to Christ when I did. So
only you, babe.
It worked against my interest at the time. She's like, wait a second, we're not supposed. I was like, yeah, sure, praise the Lord. Yeah, so she's fine now. She's thriving. She's doing her thing. All right, guys. I got one more little clip to play for Kyle, and then me and Sori are going to take our walk.
Love this one, which is of all of the people dancing, which is a totally normal and not weird thing to do, right? Let me zoom in on all their crotches because this is stacked. Well, because they raped a Palestinian man who went to protest at the ball sack's out. Now, look, as hocking or as legging or whatever the fuck you call it, you can see here, because it got bigger. The rip got words very purposefully.
I can't see it, but
now they went to go protest, not to say, hey, stop torturing Palestinians, free all the innocent people. We're running a death camp here. This is beyond disturbing. This has echoes of Nazi Germany. They went to protest on the side of some Israeli soldiers who were facing some accountability because they raped a Palestinian man with an iron rod to death. They are protesting for the right to rape innocent Palestinian prisoners to death. That's what's happening right now as I talk to you. Right now. These people don't give a fuck about any of that. They don't care about the genocide in Gaza. They don't care about the total siege, which cut off food, fuel, water, and electricity to 2.3 million people. They don't care about that. They don't care about the bombing of over 30 hospitals. They don't care about the bombing and leveling of every single school in Gaza. They don't care about the attacks on UN buildings and UN workers. They don't care about the countless videos of children with their heads blown up that have been posted on social media. They don't care that we're witnessing a fucking modern day Holocaust. They don't care. They don't care. They either push it aside, don't acknowledge it, or many of these people support it.
The irony of this statement is incredible to me. The lack of self-awareness is incredible. First of all, Kyle is 1000% right. I'm sure God hated the imagery in at the Olympics. You know what else? I think God also hates other kinds of images too. What do you guys think? I'm debating us. Here we go. Here's an image that God hates, dear listener. What you're seeing here is a bunch of dead Palestinian babies.
Oh my God.
And their mothers are saying goodbye to them. Now, what I'm supposed to say here is to say, you Christians are going crazy about a mockery of the upper room discourse, but you don't care about what's happening to those Palestinian people. The reason I'm not going to say that is because I don't want to present that as a dichotomy. Dear listener, listen very, very close to me. If you understand the message that Jesus gave in the Last Supper, if we truly understood it, we would never sit by and let an image like that go.
Exactly.
We would never allow for this image. And if we saw this image, we would be infuriated. And we should be infuriated. You know why? Because all these dead children and their mourning mothers are image bearers of God. And this woman's tears are the tears of God. And because we don't know God, like Christ said we should in the Last Supper, because we don't love each other as Christ has loved us. I mean, there's a bunch of Palestinian Christians getting worked, getting killed right alongside their Muslim neighbors. Dear listener, the reason I'm not going to dichotomize those is one leads to the other. If we truly understood the message of the Last Supper, we would not be able to countenance that kind of destruction of image bearers of God.
100%.
The reason that evangelicals go crazy over what happened in the Olympics and not what's happened in Gaza is because we don't know what Jesus actually said in the Last Supper. We're not committed enough to the Last Supper, and that's why we're more mad about that imagery than the other imagery. If we were actually committed to the message of the Last Supper, because it's the most explicit stuff. I mean, even the disciple says, now you're speaking clearly and not in parables.
Yep.
He said everything explicitly. Love each other as I have loved you. Don't fear death. Love your enemies. Blah, 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 blah. But Jesus didn't just talk it. He walked it. 5 hours later, he walked all the shit that he told those people to do. So Kyle is right here to a degree. A lot of us do not give a fuck about that imagery, bruh. But here's the thing that's crazy to me about Kyle. I'm going to replay this part again. It's crazy to me.
2.3 million people. They don't care about that. They don't care about the bombing of over 30 hospitals. They don't care about the bombing and leveling of every single school in Gaza. They don't care about the attacks on UN buildings and UN workers. They don't care about the countless videos of children with their heads blown up that have been posted on social media. They don't care that we're witnessing a fucking modern day Holocaust. They don't care.
Kyle, do you care about children with their heads cut off? Kyle, the second most popular form of abortion is called a dilation and curettage abortion, in which the arms and the legs of the child are torn off while it's alive. His midsection is eviscerated, and then the abortionist then takes what's known as a Sofer clamp, binds the head, and squeezes until a white substance exits the woman's cervix, which was the baby's brains. Second most popular form of abortion in the United States of America. We have killed 60 million plus human beings since the passing of Roe v. Wade. I don't see any concern for Kyle Kulinski when the abortion question comes up. I don't see the acknowledgement of those kids as humanity, Kyle. I was just on X, and I saw an absolutely horrible picture, because what people don't know is that in order for the woman not to go into sepsis, which is you have a floating arm inside of your body, and then it putrefies, and then you go into sepsis. The doctor performing the abortion has to scrape the uterus and then reassemble the baby to make sure that there are no other parts floating around in the mother. A lot of these people say that, late term abortions are only in the case of the life of the mother. That is fundamentally untrue. It's not true. The reporting arm of Planned Parenthood said that women get abortions in late term for the exact same reasons they get abortions in early term. Kyle Kulinski has has proffered this lie over and over again. The only time we have late stage abortions is the life of the mother. No, it's not true. You can go to Colorado, and Dr. Hearn will kill your 8 and 9 month old baby in utero for committing the crime of having Down syndrome. He said that on his website. Or psychiatric indication. Like, if you feel like you don't want to deal with this baby anymore in 8 months, you can kill him. In Colorado and Virginia. There's about 7 states without any gestational limits whatsoever. Kyle Kulinski has the resources to do this information himself, and over a decade he's been on YouTube. He's never, ever once spoken up for the life of children. But now that the people that he doesn't like are killing children, or now that there's a group of children that he deems as valuable, now he feels he can sit in the catbird seat and judge Christians, rightfully, by the way, for their insensitivity to the suffering of these Palestinian people. The message of the Last Supper is that ignorant Christians and arrogant secularists both need the same solution. Because you got one group of people who will freak out over a play and not give a fuck about literal human beings created in the image of God dying. Then you'll have other people that will persecute those people rightfully and then give full-throated support to ripping the throat out of a little defenseless baby. And is willing to carry water and spread disinformation for those organizations. Because it's disinformation to say that women only have late-term abortions if their life is on the line. That's untrue. The Guttmacher Institute, which is a reporting arm of Planned Parenthood, has made that clear. But again, this is not even about abortion. This is about our disposition toward one another, our inability to love each other, and our inability to be good friends. You know what Jesus said about friendship, don't you? In the Last Supper. Greater love has no man that he would lay down his life for his friends. And you're my friends if you do what I say. Well, what do you command us to do, Jesus? Love one another. Love one another. Anybody in the human family, if you're a Homo sapien, you're in. You don't need to do anything else to justify your existence. You don't need anything else to justify the fact that you deserve dignity and honor. Just by being on the team, you're in. Kyle doesn't believe that. What about blessed is he who dashes the babies against the rocks? What about that? What do you have to say about that? So, free naturalists, I'm going to put that up there for you. Explain to me why that verse is pertinent to this discussion.
That explanation of a DNC abortion is always, even though I know what you're going to say, it's so troubling.
Mm-hmm.
cannot believe we even do that.
Well, Kai, you're not a Christian, so you wouldn't see the mockery. But the Parisians saw the mockery. That's why they try to say, oh, it wasn't about the Last Supper. It was about Dionysus, when they had originally said it was about the Last Supper. Mm-hmm. And I find it hard to believe, Kai, that you don't see how that performance could have been a mockery of Christianity. Like, I find that hard to believe. You're speaking about abortion as if that's wrong, yet you don't look at your own book. This is what I said earlier. Like, do you think it's Christians, like, if you say, like, if evolution is true, why there are still monkeys? It's like, you think that these scientists don't know that, and some dude on some Christian dude on YouTube exploited that and found it out, but they didn't know? Free naturalist, here is the context of the passage that you're talking about, because I know that you don't know where that came from. So here we go. This is Psalm 137, okay? So I'm just going to read the entire passage because it's not very long, okay? And this is Psalm 137. By the waters of Babylon, where we sat and wept, we remembered Zion. On the willows there, we hung up our lyres. A lyre is basically a guitar. For there our captors required of us songs, and our tormentors mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing Yahweh's song in a foreign land? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget its skill. Let my tongue stick to the roof of my mouth. If I do not remember you, if I do not set Jerusalem above my highest joy. Remember, O Yahweh. This is not Yahweh speaking. This is Yahweh's people speaking. Remember, O Yahweh, against the Edomites, the day of Jerusalem, how they said, lay it bare, down to its foundation. O daughter of Babylon, doomed to be destroyed. Blessed shall he be who repays you with what you've done to us. Blessed shall be he who takes your little ones and dashes them against the rock. That is what the text says. That is not God commanding people to do that to babies. That is people who are undergoing exile and political persecution saying, I hope what happened to us happens to you. And that is the Bible not whitewashing people. That's showing them in full relief, because the Bible's a real book about real experiences. The text is not telling us to do this. The text is telling us that when people suffer under these conditions, that's what they go to. Ian says it's about a Judean exile who is so upset that he or she hopes that even the Babylonians' babies are punished for the crimes of Babylon. Correct. Because, yes, obviously the answer to that question is yes. So they were ventilating their feelings of pain and frustration at the Babylonians for what they did. Okay? So that's why that passage is in the Bible. We don't ignore that passage. That's actually one of my favorite passages, because when I ran into it, for whatever reason, I was around during the time when a lot of new people met Jesus. And they thought that the minute that you become a Christian, you immediately become like Jesus. And I said, hell no! Sanctification or Jesusification is a lifelong endeavor.
It is.
And the Bible, and one of the ways I encourage new Christians, I don't think it's metaphorical. I believe that those captive Israelis wanted to see that happen, because I remember at 9/11, I wanted to see people die. The text is not saying this is the right thing to do. The text is being real about, if you get invaded and if you get treated unjustly, it is common in the human experience to ask for revenge. That's all. The Bible...
That's why Jesus' message was so revolutionary.
Correct.
Because he was saying, pray for your enemies.
Correct.
And those who persecute you.
Correct. So I love that. I love that. That's one of my favorite texts in the world. Because I'm cool like, too, I have such a real document. This is not a, you know, right. Go ahead. Here's Free Naturalist. That's not the only thing, Vin. Your God allowed slavery, which is wrong. Mr. Free Naturalist, do you believe that the term slavery has one definition for all time?
Would you like to come on a call?
Would you like to get on a call and have a discussion about it? Because I'll have a discussion with you about it.
It would be faster than the messaging back and forth.
Yeah. But you know what's fascinating too about people like free naturalists is he'll put that thing out there, happy as he who dashes your children against the stones. I know that he didn't have the reference. So I graciously provided him the reference, and I clearly explicated, so did Ian, the context of that passage. And instead of saying, you know what?
Slavery.
You know what? I was wrong. I was speaking in ignorance. I went to evilbible.com and just randomly brought something. Instead of saying that, you just go to the next subject like we didn't talk about the first subject. I'm a black man in America, so I've done some research on slavery. Okay, much love to all you beautiful people. Let me finish what Kyle has to say here.
They don't care. They either push it aside, don't acknowledge it, or many of these people support it.
That's exactly what you guys do with abortion.
But I'm supposed to sit here and hop on the bandwagon with some fucking bullshit fake outrage over some drag queens dancing at an opening ceremony for the Olympics?
No, I don't think you should, because you're not a Christian, so you have no loyalty to Jesus yet. But you recently married Crystal, and I'm sure if somebody put out some, big giant thing. Remember the whole Jimmy Dore situation? You said you would put hands on Jimmy if he said to your girl what he said to Anna, which is a lie, because he did say a bunch of reckless shit about Crystal you haven't even commented on, which is the right thing to do, by the way. But no, Kyle, we're not expecting you to participate in it. We're just saying it's not a good idea to mock something that's so powerful and so poignant to so many people.
Look, your moral meter is just broken, right? You got to recalibrate that shit.
It's so weird to me when atheists and secularists talk about our moral meter.
It's unbelievable.
Beloved, you have no grounding.
They have no grounds for a moral meter.
You have no grounding for morality.
Yeah.
Like, you believe killing some kids is a crime and other kids is okay. It's weird.
It is just shattered. It is broken. You're fucking jokes. You're idiots. You're morons. You're clueless.
Now, this is all pretty embarrassing for Kyle, right? Because the entire premise of all of this is that it had nothing to do with the Last Supper. Because you guys don't know how to Google. Beloved, I promise you, it took me 3 minutes to get those quotes. It took me a little longer to screenshot them and all the rest of it, but it literally, it was a 3-minute Google search to get all those quotes.
You know how I am with stuff, and I knew that I had that information. That's what I'm saying is so, that shouldn't be so insulting to Kyle.
Well, you're a lot more adept at this internet stuff than you give yourself credit.
I don't go into it, though. I hardly ever know what's going on in that regard.
It's definitely a skill set, for sure.
You deserve all the scorn and derision in the world for having this much of a broken view of reality. First of all, even if they were mocking Christianity, who cares? Second of all, they're fucking not, and you still think they are, and you're more angry about this than...
Right, but I don't see you saying that if somebody's mocking Judaism or if somebody's mocking LGBT people. Mm-hmm. You don't say...
because he got mad that he was saying that this is clearly anti-Semitism at the beginning. And what exactly was anti-Semitism? Because people said that person was wrong for what they were doing?
Yeah. Or if you say George Soros funds, left-wing whatever, that's anti-Semitism. But he does do that.
Fucking genocide in Gaza. I can't deal with these people. And finally, we'll end with some of the worst here. Look at this. This guy says, "This may be putting it too crudely for some, but the picture on the left was infinitely preferable in virtually every way than the one on the right." For those of you just listening podcast style, the picture on the left is Hitler and the Nazis marching through Paris, France. This guy's saying it is preferable to have the Nazis effectively control France than have some drag queens dancing in circles. Do you realize how broken your brain has to be in order to come to that conclusion? You are...
I wouldn't post something like that. But what Christians have to understand is that a lot of these folks do not see the connection between their guiding presuppositions and their actions. They think that those things are in completely different planets. They don't see... See, this is one of the things about being a Christian when you have the Old and New Testament. You kind of have to operate in a paradoxical mind and have many things going together at once. God is one, but he's three. Salvation is by faith alone, not by works, but you're going to necessarily have works. You have to do a lot of work in harmonizing complex ideas if you're a Christian. And so when you're in the habit of doing that, you start to see everything as spaghetti, as in things get connected. So Kyle doesn't have the understanding that your guiding presuppositions about humanity, yourself, etc., are going to manifest in the real world with certain kinds of physical actions. If I believe in the message of the upper room discourse and the logical ramifications of what that means, it is actually worse for humanity that we have that taken away from us than seeing Nazi Germany. Because Kyle, Nazi Germany is just human beings. Again, these folks like to focus on Nazis because they believe them to be right-wingers, and they never talk about the Holocaust and the persecutions of various people, mostly religious, by the atheist governments in the Soviet Union. They never do that, and so you have this imbalanced understanding of history and why things came to be. The reason that Hitler could march into Paris, Kyle, is because the vast majority of the German people lost the message of the Last Supper. These people were claiming to be Christians, Kyle. So what does the scripture say? Greater love has no man than he lays his life down for his friends. But what did those Christians in Germany do? Did they follow the commands of the upper room discourse? No. They let their neighbors, their friends, get carted away and did nothing. So there is a sense in which the mockery of the Last Supper is worse than seeing Hitler walk through France, in the sense that if we would take the Last Supper seriously as a human family, Nazism could have never germinated in Germany. But you have to be able to hold together certain ideas and realize that sometimes our philosophies actually get manifested in the real world. We continue.
Saying, I prefer torture and death camps and rigid racial hierarchies. I prefer that to queer people being free.
He didn't say anything about what he personally prefers. He's talking preferably at the institutional level and at the national level, Kyle, because again, our philosophical presuppositions dictate everything. Everything. For example, physicalism is not a scientific principle, it's a philosophy. The idea that matter preceded consciousness is not a scientific fact. That is a presupposition, unprovable, and the data actually is in the opposite. But that just shows you, and that's why they have things like the emergence problem. How did consciousness emerge from matter? That's because they assume that matter preceded everything. Okay? That's a philosophy. So your overarching philosophy colors everything that you see. That's why, Kyle.
That's what you're saying. This is one of those.
What we're saying is the unfamiliarity with and the rejection of the message of the upper room discourse or the Last Supper is the reason that a guy like Hitler can emerge from Germany. That's the argument.
Things, it's so absurd, it's so extreme, it doesn't even need a rebuttal. I don't need to say anything. And in fact, this guy, his own right-wing followers, many of them were like, look, bro, I'm all for the meltdown over what's happening in the opening ceremony, but this goes a little bit too far, doesn't it? And he ended up deleting it. But look, some of them are letting you know this is...
Yeah, Twitter is not the right context to make statements like that. Twitter is for, Americans with their new attention spans of nothing. So that's just an unwise place to have that discussion. Now, like I said, I am arguing that it is the ignorance and the rejection of the Last Supper that led to Nazism. That's the argument.
How we really...
And by the way, it's impossible to disagree with that argument. Greater love has no man that he laid his life down for his friends. In this world you have trouble, I have overcome the world. Don't worry about your life. They're going to persecute you. They're going to kill you. He said the time is coming when those who kill you will believe that they're doing service to God. If we would have focused on that, there would have been no World War II because the German citizenry, who all claim to be Christian, would have said, "Get out of here, bro." We continue.
We think. This is how we really think. Nazis are preferable to free queer people dancing and having fun. And finally, for all the talk, oh, you're mocking Christianity, bro, it's not fit. Again, they're not. It's the Greek pantheon. That's what it is.
You're wrong. Or you're more right than the person who's at the center of the play and the producers and the tourist departments in Paris.
These are the same people who say you're mocking our religious imagery. And you're not allowed to do that. How many examples are there of paintings of Trump as Jesus? This has become a running theme.
It's true.
Yeah, I think it's so offensive, man.
True. I was very concerned with the ear thing.
Wow.
Because I looked at the ear thing as a new crucifix. Mm-hmm. And look, I know that liberals go overboard with y'all, but y'all know that we got really weird about Trump. And I'm saying we, y'all know where I'm at with it, but I'm saying we because I'm always going to roll with my people. We did this. This is a mockery of Christianity. And I would argue a worse mockery because the upper room discourse is him going to the cross, but this is actually him on the cross. And the Apostle Paul told us, I determined to preach nothing among you but Christ. You're supposed to finish it. And him crucified.
I'm just so shocked at that. I was thinking to myself, I wonder if Trump, after his experience, you know, the assassination stuff, like, I wonder if he'll come out and publicly say, like, stop all these pictures of me depicted as Christ. Like, stop. Like, if I was him, I'd be like, you guys need to stop this now.
Yeah.
Like, don't even do this.
Yeah, well, but where are these people's pastors?
Yeah.
That's my problem. It's like,
yeah.
Y'all pastors aren't seeing this imagery?
God, the American flag is this loincloth. What in the world is going on?
And there's a mega thing out there. Now,
yeah.
Like I said, and I don't know if that's Pelosi.
It looked like, I thought that was Kamala that's
is that Kamala?
stabbing him. And then it's his wife down by his
That's
feet.
either Pelosi or Kamala.
And his wife's supposed to be, what, the Blessed Mother down at his feet?
Yeah, there's Kim Jong-un. Jeez.
No.
Yeah,
no.
This is a worse mockery. And look,
we all agree.
This is why I think Kyle made a fool of himself in this video, but
Agreed.
Christians and everybody else, this is why you need to listen to people who are against your worldview.
Yeah.
Because, some of it is going to be just straight junk like we've talked about, but this is right. This is right. And again, everything is connected. Has it ever occurred to you that maybe these people are more comfortable playing around with that imagery because we did that first? Because remember, everything's connected. Is that possible? Is Putin a disciple? Hold on. It might be. Yeah, there go Putin. They go. Okay, so they're basically saying this Maduro. I think all the dictators were his disciples. There it is. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if a right winger did this or a left winger, but
the disciples weren't even at the cross, though.
Well,
right.
And the Mary, she was a disciple. Yeah, they left him, and maybe that's the reason why they're in the background and not at the foot of the cross. I don't know, but he's absolutely right here. He's absolutely right.
With MAGA in the U.S., with the far right in the U.S., they will do every sort of religious imagery imaginable and make Trump God or Trump Jesus on the cross like you see here. And every single one of them fucking supports it. So again, spare me. I don't.
Well, I wouldn't say every single one. Yeah, exactly. I know a whole bunch of people that don't agree with that.
Yeah, but how many of them are saying it publicly?
Oh, yeah.
You got a lot of really brave Christians right now saying, I don't care, I'm going to take a stand about this. And y'all ain't taking a stand about Gaza, and y'all ain't taking a stand about what he just said. And he's 100% right. Mm-hmm. And this is why you need to listen to people who don't hold your worldview. Mm-hmm. Because people who agree with you are going to do all this type of shit, and you guys are never going to be able to grow as people or know where you're wrong. Nobody generally on the internet is 100% wrong or 100% right on a given topic. That one was done by a left-wing artist. Check Snopes. I that's why I said, like, I don't know if it's a left or right winger, but my point is, there's a letter of the law and the spirit of the law, and I think we actually opened the door for that kind of imagery. I never saw imagery like that with Bush. Mm-hmm. It's we made these religious connections and these prophetic connections with Trump. Now I will tell you that I do see something extremely significant in the fact that he was an inch away from getting assassinated. I believe completely that God sent his angel to protect Mr. Trump. And I understand that that creates a problem because, well, what happened to the firefighter? So God loves Trump, didn't love the firefighter. If there's enough responses down low on this video, I'll shoot a video on that. If there's interest, we continue.
I don't care about your outrage. I don't care. I don't care about your meltdown. I think you deserve scorn. You deserve derision. This isn't a, oh, we have different opinions and we'll talk it out and we'll come to the truth. No, you guys are a bunch of fucking jokes. You have the brains of toddlers. And you're throwing a tantrum on the world stage because you don't like queer people. And again, that is more of an outrage to you than the carpet bombing of babies, which happens on a regular basis in Gaza with our money and in our name. So you can piss right off, and I'm very comfortable saying that. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm.
I'm glad there are some babies that Mr. Kulinski cares about. I would just pray that Mr. Kulinski at some point becomes consistent with that ethos. All right, guys, thank you very, very much. This was a pretty interesting show. Much love to all you beautiful people. Those two things aren't the same. What two things aren't the same? Zero. I've never supported Trump. I never will. He's a danger to democracy in this country. That's cool, Nightwolf. I think that he is a danger to democracy. I obviously also think that the Democrats are more of a danger to democracy for obvious reasons. Mrs. Kulinski was a 40... Did I say Mrs. Kulinski?
You may have. I mean, you've been kind of dropping it like that the whole time.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say Mrs.
I mean, Mr. Ball or Mrs. Kulinski. Is there really a big difference?
I got you. Now the Lord of peace himself give you peace always by all means. The Lord be with you all. Yeah. Triff.
And with you.
I love the ESV version of that where it says through and through. Mm-hmm. That Yahweh will give you peace through and through. Or always by all means. That's a good one. I'm just waiting for Zero Cobalt. He said these two aren't the same, so I wanted to give him the opportunity to say whatever he needed to say. But we're about to get out of here. I do think it's true that a lot of Christians resent LGBT people. And I think that was one of the reasons that they purposely use that imagery. Because they're clapping back at Christians for doing so. Mm-hmm. My thing is, at the end of the day, the scriptures say that God is patient with people because he wants them to come to repentance. Mm-hmm. The scripture says the kindness of God is designed to lead you to repentance. And so God did not open up the ground and swallow all those people into Sheol as they should have been. But he graciously gave them a chance. Being queer and babies dying in Gaza are incomparable. I agree. They're not the same thing, but what he's saying is you guys hate gay people and you're making a big conniption and there's always all this emotional energy over that image, but there's no emotional energy for the image bearers of God that you claim bear God's image in Gaza, and he's right. That's a great criticism. It lands and we need to deal with it as Christians. I agree with Cobalt, though. They're obviously not the same level of intensity and horror. All right. The point of the matter is, dear listener, love your neighbor, take care of each other. Middle America, we are the media.
Till next time.
Till next time, you beautiful people. Vin out.